so much for joining us today. Thank you, Ashish, for joining us today as well. My name is Deepak Joseph. I work at Indeed.com. My job at Indeed, in fact, everyone who works at Indeed has one main job to do, which is to make it easier for job seekers to find their next job. The last few months has been tough for many people for a variety of reasons, from not being able to travel or to go out and meet your loved ones, or even not being able to go to office and to work with your colleagues every day. It has been truly tough times. It has been harder still for people looking for jobs during this period. And we hope that through this online hiring week session and through other initiatives we are working on, we are able to connect you with companies who are actively hiring right now. On that note, I'm very, very excited to welcome and introduce Mr. Ashish Goyal from VMware. Ashish is the Director of Talent Acquisition at VMware. He is also the co-lead for diversity and inclusion at VMware India. I'm sure Mondays are typically very packed days for Ashish, and he just told me it's not just Mondays, it's every day of the week right now. So we sincerely would like to thank you for taking the time to join us today and to talk to thousands of job seekers who are very keen to know what it takes to work at VMware. Um, as a company that was founded over 2 decades ago, back in 1998, at the heart of Silicon Valley at Palo Alto, California. Today, VMware has over 24,000 employees and have created an ecosystem of over 75,000 partners. VMware is transforming how entire industries use technology to innovate, be it in the field of banking, healthcare, retail, telecommunications, manufacturing, and even across governments. VMware is truly a company where talent can do some really, really exciting work, and that makes this session even more exciting. So for all of you listening in today, if you have any questions for Ashish, please do post your questions in the comment section, and we will answer as many questions as time permits. On that note, I would like to invite Ashish and start with my first question. Ashish, there's a lot of talk about work-life culture today. During the pandemic, this has become even more important for people to be able to work in a company where they have the flexibility, they have the culture which they really look forward to. If you could start by sharing your thoughts on, what makes VMware what it is today.
Sure. Thank you, Deepak. And before I answer that question, we are a very fast-growing organization. Within the time this conversation started to now, we've grown to 35,000 people. So 11,000 people at it right there.
Oh, wow. That's very
just,
fast.
just kidding. Just pulling your leg. So see, a couple of things that define the culture at VMware. The first and foremost one is our values. Our values, there is an acronym for that. We call it EPIC 2 values. It stands for execution, passion, integrity, customers, and community. And there are various ways by which each of these values, there are various ways by which these values come to come to life in our daily work at VMware. And we'll talk about that as over the rest of the session. One of the other things which is really part of our DNA is innovation. Now think back to 98 when the company started, we really created the technology of virtualization, right? And of course, it has become a complete industry ever since then in the last 22 years. And that DNA has really stayed with the company and expanded to many other technology areas that the company has expanded itself into over the last so many years. One of the other things, in addition to innovation that really started this company and it's really part of the DNA, what we also see is that technology today has such a large impact on our planet that sustainability is likely to be the next frontier of innovation, of technology innovation. And that is where we believe that technology can actually be a force for good. And that's driving a large part of our innovation as we move forward. One of the other things which has really stayed with me in my 8 years at VMware is the entire concept of citizen philanthropy. And our foundation, fine, I mean, many other many other companies have foundations. Ours is unique in the sense that it is driven by the power of our collective actions, where we combine our time, the time of our employees. We combine our time, our talent, and our resources to create a network of giving where the employees give by their own hands, either in terms of time or talent or resources, rather than it all getting pooled and the company giving everything to say maybe one organization out there. The other thing, which is of course very, very important for us today, that we are building a culture of innovation and inclusivity, right? So our teams are diverse, increasingly inclusive. And that's not just gender. Of course, there is a lot of work that we are doing, of course, in my role, both as the co-lead for our employee resource group, as well as from my talent acquisition hat. There is a lot of work happening in the space of diversity and inclusion, and that continues to grow even further. And the way all of this sort of gets reflected in our daily lives, just some of the ways that, especially since the pandemic started, this lockdown entire thing has started, our senior management, our executive management has made it a point to be transparent in their communications, even more so than earlier, right? Because things are changing so rapidly in this situation, and it is important that our leadership, our executive leadership, communicates transparently and very regularly, and that's been happening a lot, and that's actually cascaded through the entire organization, where I speak very regularly with my team, as an example, right? And there is a lot of flexibility that is driving our decisions, our business decisions. For example, we are also moving to a sharply more remote workforce than pre-pandemic, and that remote working culture is going to be driven by employee choice rather than a central diktat from the organization. So there will be more employee flexibility as we see it moving forward. So these are just a few ways by which you see the culture of our organization getting reflected in our daily work life.
Perfect. Ashish, I think the one thing that you said really stood out to me in terms of power of collective action. I think that's something that every employee aspires to be a part of a company where their respective work plays a direct and significant role to what the large company is doing. So I'm sure a lot of people listening into this call will be excited about joining a company where the work that they do is having such an impact. And like you said, just through by giving through their own hands or through the sustainability focus that they have, I think that's phenomenal. Ashish, I also want to just stay on the topic of diversity and inclusion that you briefly touched upon. One of the maybe slightly better things that's happened out of this pandemic and lockdown is now people have the ability to join the workforce from pretty much wherever in the country, or actually wherever in the world they're working from. So when you look at diversity and inclusion, not just from this, typical definitions, but also broader than that, from across geographies, across industries, across age groups, what are some of the things that people can take away as, things that VMware is doing differently to get more diverse people onto VMware, and then to also include them in daily life at VMware?
Absolutely, Deepak. And we pivoted quite sharply to being a more virtual organization, to being a completely virtual organization when the pandemic started so many months back. For example, our entire interview process shifted pretty much overnight. And very happy to say that even the way we bring our new joiners on board week on week, and we are onboarding so many people over the last so many months. Every week, new joiners are brought on board completely virtual. And again, our technology plays a strong role there. Our product called Workspace ONE enables people to use their personal laptops. Their personal laptops get virtualized to be used for official purpose, right? To become VMware laptops. Wherever we're able to ship laptops, we obviously do that. But frankly, the pace of growth of the organization has, I would say, even accelerated. It's definitely not been impacted negatively ever since the pandemic started. And what we're also doing is that we have recently piloted what we call goals-oriented hiring, where we and this is a pilot that we've done so far, and we want to extend that as we move forward, where we want to assess candidates for what they will do after they join VMware rather than on the skills they have in the past, right? So By doing that, we believe that we'll be expanding the top of the funnel, meaning that attracting more people and making more people suitable, or making VMware attractive to more people than we've done so far. We are also going to be a more remote workforce. We already are, of course, completely virtual right now. But if and when we go back to being in office in a full way or in a partial manner, we will be more virtual, we'll be more remote than what we were pre-pandemic. And again, our technology is going to power all of that. And we believe, or we hope definitely, that being a more remote workforce will enable more people to apply to VMware and join us and contribute to the growth of this organization.
Perfect. I think Ashish, like a true pioneer in technology, even in the way you're hiring, when you mentioned hiring for goal-oriented purpose as opposed to, hiring basis what someone has done in the past. I think that again will be very encouraging for a lot of people listening in. So you're saying it's not so much about what you've done in the past, but what you can bring to the table and what you can deliver to VMware. And that leads me to the next question in terms of what what are the kind of skill sets that people should have. What, if you could just maybe broadly talk about, just maybe it might be difficult for us to get into the exact, for each and every role, but broadly, if you could touch upon, these are the 3 or 4 key areas that are very essential to succeed at VMware, and if people on this call believe that they have the skill sets, that they should go ahead and apply.
Sure. And in doing so, I'll probably answer one of the questions also from the audience. VMware is a cloud company. We are a company in the business of providing cloud infrastructure to our customers, software infrastructure. And therefore, we're always looking for engineers who can build, maintain, and support large-scale distributed cloud infrastructure systems, right? Now, if you were to talk about it in specific skills, a lot of our platforms, a majority of our platforms are written in Java, so we're looking for Java systems engineers. Not as much in the application layer, more so in the systems layers. But frankly, we're looking for people, like I said, who can build such systems, right? Who can maintain these systems. And we also have a very large technology support team, right? Tech support engineers. So we're looking for tech support engineers who can help our customers maintain their systems at their installation space, right? So this is a very high level view of the skills that we look for. We obviously look for sales engineers as well. These are sales engineers who know our technology or know cloud technology and are able to speak with customers, consult with our customers to help build their cloud systems, right? And sell VMware technology at the same time. So VMware India is a microcosm of VMware Global. Every business unit that it takes to run a business like VMware has very, very large presence in India, in our India site. We are a 7,000 strong site in India, and every business unit has a very large presence, and there is the best kind of work happening out of here.
Perfect. I think, Ashish, that's very specific, and I'm sure, a lot of people, be it within Java, be it about building and maintaining these cloud systems, that's very specific information that people can use and work with. Now, I just want to shift our discussion for people who believe that they do have the skill set, but they're trying to find the best way to navigate this virtual world of hiring. It's not the same as, pre-pandemic, where you would go into an office, you have a face-to-face discussion. There's a certain bit of comfort level. Today, it is scary to just open up a laptop and know that the next 1 hour which you have on a laptop will decide if you get a job or not. Are there any tips you can share with people listening in terms of what are certain, and I think a question also came up in terms of challenges that people face when not just working remotely, but also when they're interviewing remotely? What would be your advice to them? Should they have a lot of preparations done? Should they have speaking notes ready? Should they do a little extra preparation to just make that time more useful?
Absolutely, Deepak, and you got that spot on. Preparation for the interviews definitely helps, and the recruiters do their bit to help set expectations with the candidates before the interview to help them understand what the interview will look like, right? The broad contours of how the conversation will go, or the various conversations will go. So we do our bit to help engineers, to help our candidates understand how the process will go, and that is where we hope that people will do their prep, keep speaking notes ready, think back to the most complex problems that they have solved over the last so many years, because all of us do get rusty. If there is something that we've done a few years back, it helps to refresh that, because that could be just the thing that helps you get that next job, right? So at VMware, given our technology, we are always looking for specialists, right, compared to generalists. And that reflects in our interview process as well. Our interview process does go deep into the expertise of the candidates. And we believe that we hire the best, only the best. And that is where, for people to prove that they really are the best, a little bit of preparation does go a long way, right?
Yeah.
And being virtual, of course, in paying paying some attention to the infrastructure, just internet bandwidth, etc., that definitely helps.
Yeah, I guess there is no shortcut to hard work and preparation, and I think more so than now. So I think for everyone listening in, key to points, maybe just to summarize, because it was very, maybe most important, is for everyone to have a very clear idea of past projects that they've done, the business impacts they've done, and to maybe also share it in advance so that it just makes it easier for the teams to be aware of why you would fit into VMware. Ashish, I just want to take a step back and come back to details. I think, Ashish, I think we might have lost Ashish. Okay, could you, for everyone listening in, could you just give us a few
Sorry,
minutes?
Deepak. Sorry, I got logged off. My bad.
No worries, that was barely a few seconds. So Ashish, we were talking about, just to take a step back and also maybe just share some insights in terms of your perspective of the, I mean, this might be a fairly big, broad question in terms of your outlook for the job market in the next 6 to 9 months. There is a lot of uncertainty in the market. There's a feeling that there aren't that many jobs, and it's. I mean, people are not hearing back. Um, there are some industries which have been affected negatively, but we do know that there are some industries which are aggressively ramping up, like you just said at the start of the call. Uh, what are your thoughts on the next 6 to 9 months? Though it's hard to predict the future in times like these, but if there's a general ballpark of what people should be looking at, how can they skill themselves, reskill themselves, it'll be very helpful.
Pretty broad ranging question. Uh, okay, at least the technology industry. Uh,
Yeah.
from what I see, the technology industry has almost not stopped hiring, right? And when I say
Uh,
almost, at least the big players, the fan companies, companies like VMware, a lot of them really did not stop their hiring. And VMware actually even accelerated our hiring in India. Uh, so having said that, I'm aware that there are smaller players whose business has been impacted, and therefore there are lesser jobs going around than normal. At the same time, I do see a return to normalcy. In fact, we might have already returned to normalcy. Again, within the tech industry, I see a lot of big players accelerating their hiring plans in India, and um, and that's definitely true for VMware. When you started off saying that Mondays are busier than other days, and I said other days are equally busy, that's because we are hiring in such large numbers. Our hiring numbers are larger than ever before. Um, so so the job market, I do believe, is very quickly returning to normalcy. And what people can do to to look for jobs and to get responses to their applications, to their interviews. Number one, you know, part one is what I mentioned a little while back, that most of these companies are looking for specialists, right? So use the time, use whatever opportunities one has to build that specialist expertise, and build deep expertise, right? Rather than a breadth of technology, choose the more relevant technologies, the technologies of the future, and build depth in those. Mere certifications don't help, unfortunately, right? Hands-on experience of having built those systems, of having spoken with customers and maintained or sold those systems, that helps. And for new college graduates, of course, that's a slightly different situation for them. I would say the more one networks, that helps a lot, right? A larger network connecting to your friends, to your alumni, and expanding that network from there on. That really helps to get knowledge of the companies that are hiring, knowledge of the industry trends, of what the next relevant skills and jobs are going to be, and skilling, and therefore skilling ourselves on those skills and jobs of the future. I would say these two things are most important: build deep expertise and networking.
Perfect. I think I'll just take up one question, which is maybe around an area of specialization, if we can call that in that specific area. Is I can see a question around the scope of employment in VMware with respect to cyber security and data analytics. Is this an area where VMware is doing a lot of work? People in this domain can, look forward to applying.
Yes. So interestingly, VMware is now a security company as well. We're not just a virtualization company. We are not just a cloud company. We are a security company as well. So we are helping our customers secure their clouds. So the kind of work that we do in the security space, we build products in the space of security. So product security engineers are very much welcome to VMware. Information security, or cyber security as it is called, is also very welcome. We have a pretty large CIO team out here, and there is a good amount of cybersecurity or information security work that happens here. And there is data analytics work also that happens in VMware India specifically. So there is work happening, and professionals with expertise in these areas are very welcome to apply to VMware and get interviewed.
Perfect. Ashish says, I think we also have a lot of people who are from the startup environment who are part of this call. And I can see one question in terms of, what would be your advice to people in the startup world where typically they're used to doing a plethora of different activities. People have a very different skill set. You need to be nimble. You need to be thinking on your feet. Resources are, scarce, very fast way of working. So I'm sure there are a lot of very valuable skill sets that one picks up of working at startup, while also maybe not having some of the other, exposure of certain aspects or facets of working for a, maybe an established company. How would you, advise them to prepare better for, joining such a large organization?
Well, startups, the kind of environment in startups that prepares a person to be extremely nimble, like you rightly said, Deepak, right? And that's a quality that is very much valued at VMware. Being in a startup, it also helps people solve for large problems very early in their career, right? To get those opportunities. That also helps a lot in a company like VMware, because we are also solving for large scale problems, right? And providing opportunities to people very early on in their careers. So people from startups, they would definitely thrive in a place like VMware. And we are a large company, and there is space for all kind of people, including from large companies as well as from startups.
Perfect. I think that's very, very encouraging to hear. I mean, I mean, startups is actually very, very fascinating, and I completely agree with you in terms of the skill set that one learns at a startup is phenomenally valuable. So for everybody who's on this call from the startup community, definitely great news. Just try and go through the job descriptions to see specific skill sets and see if the skill sets match, because I think at the end of the day that is important. Without that, it might be hard. There is a question, Ashish, which kind of revolves around this. Maybe there are a few people who are not from the tech background who are also curious to see, is there a scope? I'm not sure if there is, but I just wanted to touch upon it. Um, for when it comes to hiring people from non-tech backgrounds, is it quite tough for VMware, or is there some other opportunities they could be thinking of?
Um, See, so like I mentioned earlier, we are moving towards the approach of goals-oriented hiring, right? Meaning that we want to hire
Yeah.
people who can do the job after they join rather than what skills they bring from their past. And if a person, irrespective of their background, is able to demonstrate that they can solve for the problems that a VMware engineer or a VMware employee is solving, then frankly, their background doesn't really matter. Probably one could believe that coming from a technology background would help them be more, be more proficient and be better at solving the problem compared to somebody who comes from a non-tech background. But frankly, if somebody is able to prove during the interviews that they're able to solve for the problems that we have for them and achieve the goals for that role, then the background really doesn't matter. And that holds true for all our, for all our hiring, frankly, because we are looking for people from diverse backgrounds. And while we are looking for more women, we are looking for people who are, you know, people who are disabled, people from the pride community, people who are military veterans. We are looking for all of these people. But the underlying factor, the bottom line to all of this is they need to be able to do the job. There is no compromise on that, right? So what we try and do is bring to the table, to the interviews, people from these backgrounds, and then after that, may the best candidate win, right? And that approach has held us in good stead in all of this way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's well summed up in terms of the the best, most talented candidates, will have to on based on meritocracy will get the job. Um, and if you have to tell these people like just top three reasons why they should look at joining VMware, what would those top three most important things you would want them to remember be?
Um, Number one, our work culture, right? Uh, the so our work culture is very open, and it's centered in our values. Like I spoke earlier, I don't want to expand further on that. I don't want to bore everybody with that. There is We are known as a technology company. Our technology is the best technology out there, and that gives the opportunity for every employee at VMware to work with the best engineers, the best people out there. So, being part of VMware is a matter of prestige. It is something that people can wear with pride on their t-shirts. It's people get the opportunity to do a lot of things basis their passion, and that passion could be focused towards our technology. It could be something else. Just as as an example, we have a group of people inside VMware who are writing and producing their own theater plays. That is their passion, and VMware environment allows them to do that.
Oh wow,
Uh,
that's nice to
number
hear.
Number three, we are an extremely diverse and inclusive workforce. As an example, we've taken on a goal of bringing back 15,000 women back to the workforce. So these are women who could be on a career break. We've taken a goal of bringing 15,000 of them back to the workforce. We are training these women free of charge on VMware technology and enabling them to return to the workforce. Now, not all of these people, in fact, a majority of these women will not join VMware. We do not hire 15,000 people in a year, but we are enabling them to return to the workforce to any other company out there which can leverage their skills. And this is called Taara. You can look for the URL tara.vmware.com and register for this program. This is again part of the DNA of VMware, and where we are enabling people from we are enabling non-traditional talent to come back to the workforce.
Actually, that thing about Tara that you mentioned is phenomenal. So, if I understood right, VMware is actually giving free training for a lot of women on very, very important skill sets. And they can use that free training to, I mean, not just like apply at VMware, but also for other companies. Is that a fair summary of what we just heard?
Absolutely. This is not about VMware. This is about enabling those women to return to the workforce, which could be any company out there, not just VMware.
Okay, that is really fantastic. So, I mean, I'm hoping for a lot of women, especially on this call. It could be a good tool for them to start off with in case if there's any required. Um, there are also a few questions around freshers. I'm just wondering, how does one show the ability? Um, I mean, maybe through assessments, maybe through showing their knowledge of certain programming skills, but what would you advise freshers in terms of having to do to be able to join VMware?
Um, well, we do have a very strong campus recruitment program, and we hire a lot of people from campus. So, frankly, at VMware, specific to VMware, a lot of our new college graduate hiring and interns as well comes directly from campuses, right? Having said that, my advice to college freshers would be that build your networks with your alumni out there, and use that network to firstly understand what are the skills and roles of the future and build your skills in that space, and use that network to look for jobs out there and get responses to your applications as well. This is the best advice I would give, because VMware, of course, does hire from colleges, and their pedigree does matter. Um, there could be a lot of students out there who are in non-pedigree colleges, and for those, that would be my advice.
Perfect. Ashish, there were also some questions in terms of the business growth at VMware in terms of how the company is doing per se. There was one question right at the start which says that digital and cloud has that industry, like you were also mentioning, has been growing. And how is VMware reacting to this opportunity? If you could just talk to us about the disruptive things that VMware has done over the last few months to just enable cloud computing, all the other cool things that you spoke of. I'm guessing a lot of people are very excited to hear about the cool work that VMware is already doing today.
Absolutely. So, firstly, VMware has continued to expand in this time, in these tough times. We've continued to expand, we've continued to grow. Our revenues continue to grow pretty aggressively in this time. Number one. Number two, we've brought on a lot of people globally, not just in India, but globally. We've hired a lot of people. The time this entire economic situation started, we realized that this was actually a great opportunity to hire great talent. And we've leveraged on that opportunity. We continue to leverage on that opportunity. And my team and I, we are in the thick of that action. And at the same time, we've also brought on talent in an inorganic manner. For example, there are acquisitions that we've made. And for example, just about when the pandemic was starting, we acquired two fairly large companies, and we continue to do that, right? So we are a fast-growing organization, and we are rapidly expanding. Our business strategy is rapidly expanding into adjacent technology areas. For example, a year back, we were not a security company. Now, suddenly we are. Since the start of the year, we are a security company as well. We are in the app modernization space as well. So, just as an example, just to highlight a fact, some of the founders of the Kubernetes technology are now VMware employees, right? So,
Oh,
being
wow.
part of being part of VMware enables anybody to interface with such people and to learn from such people.
That's fantastic. I think, Ashish, we also had some questions coming back. I think people are very interested about the Tara program that you spoke of. I think maybe we'll just say that URL again. I'm actually looking at the page right now. Was it vmware.com/TAARA for people to know more about?
That is correct. Yes.
Perfect. All right. So for people listening in, I'll just repeat that one more time in case you'd like to know more about that. It's vmware.com/TAARA. Um, Ashish, I just want to use some of the remaining time that we have left with you to talk about the career trajectory within VMware. So I think also people are thinking about, how do I join a company where I'm able to spend a lot of time for the rest of my life, if maybe like, 4 years or 5 years. And I think it's a win-win situation. In the past, we've seen this scenario where people were shifting jobs. And I think now people are also realizing that there is a lot of merit to building one's base in a very solid company. And I think a lot of people are also kind of keen to understand. And I'm guessing because of the size and the global nature, there are a lot of opportunities within VMware to do different things. And if you could just talk about that for our viewers, it will be great.
Sure. Again, a slightly long-winded answer, so please bear with me.
Yeah.
The firstly, VMware is present in multiple technologies. Our business strategy is such that we are present in multiple technologies, and that portfolio continues to expand. Our product portfolio is much bigger, and it continues to expand year on year. And what that does is it gives people the opportunity to learn new technology, to be part of these new groups that are continuing to spawn within VMware, and and learn that piece of work and learn that technology. So that's one piece of that's one advantage of being at VMware. Number one. Number two, when we are a fast growing organization, that naturally translates into growth for our people as well, right? Because our people take large responsibilities early in their career because that is required at VMware. And of course, there is an enabling ecosystem which enables the success of these people and that propels their growth. Number three, there are active programs through which VMware encourages people to learn new skills. For example, there are programs where people are reimbursed to take on additional education to learn new skills while being employed at VMware. So there is reimbursement of, there is financial reimbursement that is allowed to all employees of VMware for learning new skills that will help them on their jobs. There are programs which actively encourage and enable the movement of people from one team to another, where to the extent that you can actually have a sort of a trial period, in the sense, be part of another team for a couple of weeks, learn what they are, see and observe what they are doing. And if you like what you see, you could move into that team. If you don't, you can come back to the team that you were originally part of, right? So there are various ways through which VMware encourages such movement, and there are ways by which people can, take time off. Some people can take, up to 3 months off to learn a completely different skill, either within VMware or outside, and make that their career moving forward. So multiple programs, multiple enablers, multiple platforms available, and of course, we are a fast-growing organization, and that translates to growth for our people as well.
Perfect. I mean, it's so in addition to reimbursing people for, studying, I'm guessing the company is also very supportive in terms of managing their new learning with having to do a full-time job at VMware. So I think very few companies out there would actually be, not just supportive, but also, financially assisting a lot of people to go ahead and learn. So great to hear all of that. And that's my mom in my background over there. So um, great. Just a couple of more few questions in terms of remote work. Um, you know, a lot of people are, having some challenges when it comes to working from home. What would you say are some of the steps that possibly that VMware is helping people to, work at home remotely more efficiently? Because I'm guessing
That
that is, a true challenge that people are facing.
That's a great question, Deepak. And number one, the number one thing that is helping people work remote is our technology. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have a product called Workspace ONE, which allows people secure and seamless access to all their work-based applications, and to continue their work uninterrupted. And that has, like I said earlier, it allows us to onboard new people week on week, tens and tens of people every week seamlessly, and use their personal systems for official work. So that's one of the ways. The other and very important ways is VMware is financially supporting employees to build infrastructure, office infrastructure at home, right? So that one-time investment in ergonomic infrastructure, right? A good table, a good chair, right? And ergonomically set up, a good ergonomic setup. So VMware is reimbursing its employees to create that setup, and on a regular basis, reimbursement for the recurring expenses, for example, internet broadband expenses. So VMware is enabling people, all its employees globally, through all of that. Now that is just one part of the enablement infrastructure. We also realize that these times are testing times for people, psychologically, mentally. These are times that are challenging, and
Absolutely.
some of our employees or even their families, extended families, could be going through fairly stressful times, either medically or just psychologically. So there is a 10 days of pandemic leave that we have for all our employees. So we've chosen to call it pandemic leave. So this is for taking care of either self or of family who are affected by the pandemic. Not necessarily that they are infected, they could be going through psychological stress because of the current situation. So there is 10 days of pandemic leave uh, allowed, or actually not just allowed, but given to all our employees to use for such purpose. There is also, so there is a lot of, there's a lot of health infrastructure that we invested in our offices. Of course, we are not able to go back to our offices. None of our offices in India are starting anytime soon. So we've again been enabling our employees to invest in that, in their well-being, in their physical well-being, while being at their home. So again, reimbursement allowed for the physical well-being of our employees as well. And a lot of people are making use of that. So a fairly holistic support given to all our employees in these difficult times.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can truly connect with what you just said in terms of also the other pandemic leave that you spoke of. And we have that at Indeed as well. We call it U Days. And it was phenomenal. It took me a while to understand what is the U Day. And the company just said, we're going to give you 1 day a month off where no one across the entire 60 plus countries we work in will do work. I'm like, that is a huge commitment from Indeed to shut down global offices for, and not that we have open offices, but to shut down entire resource. And we just realized that it's actually helping to tremendously boost our productivity in terms of saying, this is a phenomenal company which is actually letting you take some time out to breathe. And I know many companies are not doing this. So it's phenomenal that you shared that for people listening in. As someone who's experienced that, I can tell you it's a phenomenal advantage to have, to be working with a company where they respect time, and they also have financial support in terms of making it easier to work from home. Um, Ashish, VMware seems like a phenomenal place to join and to work. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to leave our viewers with? You know, just like closing thoughts from your end.
Uh, these are times where, of course, these are difficult times, and not necessarily only because of the pandemic. Life continues to get increasingly complex as we go along. So while we invest in our work, it is very important to invest in ourselves as well, in our own well-being, and that could be not just in terms of our professional health, but also our personal health, both psychological and physical. There are a lot of times that we tend to give that the short shrift. We tend to ignore that, and I've been guilty of that. I'm sure my wife would agree with that. So please, everybody, take care of yourself, your health, psychological health, especially your physical health. Very, very important. And these are all interrelated. Better health, psychologically and physically, helps you perform better at the work and be more successful professionally. So everybody, please do take care of yourself. And of course, VMware continues to hire and grow very, very rapidly. So all our jobs are available out there. You can access them through Indeed, through Indeed.com, and through our careers portal as well. So please do look at the JDs and apply to suitable jobs, and look forward to everybody look forward to meeting with everybody in the interviews.
Ashish, perfect closing. I mean, it's really heartwarming to hear that as a closing statement in terms of talking about the psychological aspect. I think that's an area where many people have, while they've spoken about it from a company perspective, for a leader at VMware to be saying this and encouraging people to put family and time first. I think that's very, very great to hear. And to everyone who's joined us today, thank you so much for taking the time to spend Monday afternoon with us. And like Ashish said, you can go ahead and apply at the link which is on the screen, or you can just log on to the same campaign page from where you saw this webinar. There's also a link which is pinned to the comments section. So multiple ways for you to click and find all the open roles at VMware. We hope you've had a good session. We hope we were able to answer your questions in a right manner. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us post the session as well. Ashish, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for all the time before the call as well. I know it's very busy, so we'll give you back some time and we'll be in touch. But thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me, and good luck to everybody out there. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.